For over 3 centuries, a story whispered across oceans, a story of unimaginable wealth, hidden away in a place so dangerous, so remote, that no one who sought it ever returned. It begins in the year 1694 when the Caribbean was ruled not by kings, but by pirates. Among them was Edward Vane, a name spoken only in fear. Captain of the feared vessel, the Crimson Wraith, Vane plundered merchant ships and naval fleets alike. Gold, silver, jewels, his greed knew no limits. But what set him apart was his cunning. He never left survivors, and he never stayed in one place long enough for the British Navy to catch him. That is, until the day the sea turned against him. Caught in a fierce storm near the Orinoco River's mouth, Vane's ship limped into a narrow, uncharted channel. There, with the jungle closing in like green walls, he and his men unloaded over 300 chests of treasure and vanished inland. Weeks later, the Navy found the Wraith abandoned and stripped bare. Of Vane and his men, nothing. Legends grew. Locals spoke of a cursed place deep in the forest, guarded by shadows and blood. They called it El Bosque de la Muerte, the forest of death. Some said Vane's crew buried the gold there and swore a blood oath that no outsider would ever take it. Those who tried to find it vanished, their bones said to be hanging from trees as warnings. For centuries the legend slept, until last year when it woke. Diego Morales, a history researcher from Bogota, had grown up hearing the legend from his grandfather, a retired sailor. After his grandfather's death, Diego found something hidden in an old wooden chest, a brittle leather map, its edges burned, with a single crimson skull stamped in its center. Alongside it, a brass compass, unlike any he had ever seen, its needle trembling in the palm of his hand. At first Diego thought it was just a family relic. But when he compared the coordinates on the map to modern satellite images, his pulse quickened. There, in the heart of Colombia's Orinoco Basin, was a perfect circular patch of dense forest. No signs of logging, no settlements, no clearings, just an unbroken canopy of green. Diego couldn't resist. He contacted 4 close friends: Mark, a survival expert from Montana; Anna, an archaeologist from Boston; Sam, a documentary filmmaker from New York; and Lisa, a linguist from Texas. Together, they formed an expedition. Officially, they told the Colombian authorities they were doing an ecological survey. Unofficially, they were hunting pirate gold. The journey was brutal. The river was a boiling brown serpent, its banks swarming with insects. The air was heavy, almost too thick to breathe. Within hours of stepping into the jungle, the sounds of the modern world vanished, replaced by the hum of unseen creatures and the occasional haunting cry of something that didn't sound entirely animal. Days passed. They hacked through walls of vine and thorn, their clothes soaked, their boots rotting from constant rain. Then on the 4th day they found it, a rotting wooden plank lying in the mud, carved with a symbol none of them mistook, the crimson skull of the Crimson Wraith. Mark ran his hand over it, his voice barely a whisper. "We're close." That night, they camped under a canopy so thick that not even the moonlight reached the ground. It was then that Anna woke to the sound of voices, faint, whispering in a language she didn't recognize. The others heard it too. They scanned the darkness with flashlights, but found nothing. The next morning, the jungle changed. The trees seemed older, the air colder. Moss-covered stones appeared, arranged in deliberate patterns, as if marking a path. The path ended at the base of a hill made of black volcanic rock. And there, half buried under centuries of earth and roots, was an entrance, a giant stone skull, its mouth yawning open, daring them to enter. Inside, the air was stale and warm, smelling of rust and dust. The walls were carved with scenes of ships aflame, men being executed, and piles of treasure. Their flashlights glinted off something ahead, and then they saw them. 3 massive wooden chests, bound in rusted iron, stacked like offerings. For a long moment no one spoke. Mark's hands shook as he knelt, brushing centuries of dust from the nearest chest. The locks were brittle, one kick would open them. They had found it. But before they could touch the treasure, a sound came from the darkness. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Figures emerged from the shadows, tall lean men with skin painted crimson and bone necklaces around their necks. Their eyes burned with something between rage and sorrow. One stepped forward, holding a spear tipped with black obsidian. In broken Spanish he spoke, "Leave or join the dead who guard this gold." The explorers froze. This was no tribe living untouched in the jungle. These were the last descendants of Vane's crew. They had been guarding this place for over 300 years, keeping the oath their ancestors swore. In that moment, the group knew the truth. The gold was not theirs to take. One wrong move, one step forward, and they would never leave the jungle. With heavy hearts, they stepped back, their dreams slipping away with every step. The guardians followed them to the edge of the Black Hill, watching silently as they disappeared into the green. Days later, they emerged from the forest, exhausted, empty-handed, but forever changed. They hadn't brought back gold, but they had brought back something no one else had, proof that the legend was real. And somewhere, deep in the Orinoco Basin, Edward Vane's treasure still waits, untouched, cursed and guarded by blood.